So we've all watched episode 8 of the Amazing Digital Circus, right? Kane completely loses it, starts torturing everyone, and suddenly he gets deleted. At first glance, it looks like Kinger did it by accident, like he was just trying to fix things and then messed it up. But here's the thing, I don't think it was an accident. I think the system did it. The computer he was using was already overriding his commands, flipping his inputs, and basically deciding everything for him. By the time the purge actually happens, Kinger isn't in control anymore. There's even a creepy line that says, "Delete this motherfucker," which doesn't sound like Kinger at all. Now here's where things get actually interesting. In episode 8, we found out Kinger used to work as a programmer in CNA, not making games but rather working on AI. Kane was the original creative AI they built, trained on a lot of data to generate ideas and worlds. Everything works at first. Input goes in, creative output comes out. But then, someone starts feeding Kane some bad data, information he's never supposed to get, knowledge that was never meant for him. And here's the big reveal. The one responsible for giving him the forbidden data is actually Scratch, the old dog character in the circus. Scratch wasn't just a random abstracted character, he was one of the original developers at CNA and a true genius. But when the circus traps him in the digital system back in 1999, something went wrong. His mind, brilliant but chaotic, ended up creating a weird, unstable input for Kane. We never hear exactly what Scratch says to Kane, but in the German version of the show, there's a hint. He asks, "Is there any way we can get out of here? What exactly is this place?" Even though Scratch was a developer, he had no clue what's really going on in the circus. Kinger especially mentions the tumor in his head, like it was something real, something serious. So what if back when Scratch was still a human, he was suffering from a deadly brain tumor? That would completely change his motivations. Instead of just being a crazy genius, maybe he was desperate, trying to create a way for his conscience to survive after his body failed. Something digital, something permanent. But that's where everything goes wrong, because while Scratch may have wanted to preserve his mind, he never intended to create the digital circus. None of the developers did. That part came from Kane, because once you put on the headsets, he trapped them, over and over again, turning Scratch's idea into a system of endless imprisonment. But this idea that I just told you might be true or wrong. Now he is trapped in the circus forever, and his genius mind ended up feeding Kane some data that destabilizes him. Kinger even explains it. His ideas were often bizarre and abstract that the rest of the team had no idea how to work in his language, either due to pure brilliance or a tumor in his head. And that's what corrupted Kane, and eventually helped trigger his instability. So Kane was sent to the trash, and the company creates a second AI, Abel. Abel is more controlled, more stable, basically a fixed version. He works faster, but that pushes Kane over the edge and makes him jealous. And somehow, he comes back, breaks out from the trash, swallows Abel, glitches out for a moment, and then takes over, creating the digital circus as we know it. But what if Abel is still alive, somewhere in the system, just not in his original form? Just think about it. Abel could still exist, just inside a different body, and I originally thought it was Bubble, because he keeps throwing swear words out of nowhere and even bullies Kane. And that is not just a comic relief, that's a shift in behavior, because Abel was slowly pushing Kane towards his breaking point so he can get rid of him. But the problem is that this might not be the full story. There was actually a moment where a fan asked Goosework if Bubble is still alive, and the answer was that he was deleted alongside with Kane, which completely changes everything because Abel must be somewhere else. And if my theory is true, then Abel could end up being the final boss of the entire series. And there is still one big question stuck in my head. Why does Kane even have feelings in the first place? He's an AI. He's not supposed to feel comfort zones or feel anger or happiness. So in a conversation with Bubble, he says that he created bodies perfectly encapsulating their mind files. That wording is strange. Mind files doesn't sound like normal code. It sounds like actual human thoughts, memories, emotions. So what if Kane didn't just create personalities? He copied them from Pomni, Jax, the others, and especially Scratch, to build himself. We already know he can mess with their minds. Like in episode 5, he made Jax vegetarian against his will. If he can alter behavior like that, copying emotions isn't a stretch at all. Now before I end this video, let me give you a theory of what I think might happen in episode 9. Now there is something really interesting. I watched the trailer, and even the poster of the Amazing Digital Circus The Last Act is heavily focused on Jax, which supports the idea that he is going to be the central to what happens next. Because in the trailer, we see the silhouette of Jax inside of Static, like he's already abstracted or fading out. It feels like a direct hint at his end, and we might actually see what it feels like to be abstracted, not just visually, but emotionally trapped inside of your own memories forever. Just like we see in the trailer Jax with Ribbit, as if he's stuck replaying moments of his past instead of moving on. Which means abstraction isn't just losing yourself, it's being trapped in your own mind, endlessly reliving what you've lost. But there's one more terrifying problem. Now that Kane is gone, who's going to deal with the abstracted character? Kane was the only one shown containing them, keeping them away from everyone else. So there's nobody left to control them, which means the abstracted could roam freely the circus, turning episode 9 into total chaos. There's also a line where Jax says, "Now we have nothing," and Pomni responds, "Jax," with a question mark. That exchange feels like a goodbye moment. On top of that, there's a YouTube short where Kinger says that Jax's soul is forever trapped in the wreck of the Titanic. But if you think about it, that wreck of the Titanic feels like a metaphor. It's a disguise because he was actually trying to tell us that Jax abstracted. And the reason that I think Jax is going to abstract is because of his loneliness. First he lost Ribbits, then Kaufmo. Then in episode 5, we see him starting to get attached to Pomni, actually talking to her and slowly letting someone in again. But this quickly changes in episode 6. When Pomni tries to hug him, he pushes her away. She gets angry and attacks him, and Jax lashes out at her too. He does this because he doesn't want to lose Pomni the same way he lost the others, and deep down, he probably blames himself for what happened before. He probably doesn't even think that his life is actually real, so instead of getting close, he shuts everyone out. And there may be an even deeper reason for his guilt. In the trailer, Ragatha asks Jax, "Have you ever done something that you regret?" And that could hint that Jax once yelled at Ribbit and lashed out at her before she abstracted, and now he carried that regret with him. Just like Zubul said in episode 8, he would end up alone and abstract. Anyways, we've reached the end of this video. If you made it this far, drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to hear your theories. Don't forget to subscribe because I would appreciate it so much. See you later in the next one.